American pole vaulter Sam Kendricks is out of the Olympics after testing positive for COVID-19. The two-time world champion is now in isolation. He was one of the favorites in his sports competition after getting the bronze medal in Rio in 2016. So Jamie Yuccas is joining us now from Tokyo with more on what's happening there at the Olympics. Jamie, dozens of others were put in isolation after some members of Australia's track team were in contact with Kendricks. What is the latest, or rather Kendricks?
Kendricks, yes, that's right. So it appears that Kendricks had been training in a facility with some of these Australian track and field players. There are now more than 50 track and field players from Australia who are isolated at this point. That's the protocols for Australia because they were in the same vicinity. It sounds like all but 3 of them who have taken tests and have tested negative are out of that isolation. But Kendricks himself has been moved to a hotel where he will be in isolation for that 14-day period. So at this point, that's what we know. We don't know when he got it, how he got it, any of those types of things. And of course, Tokyo has seen an uptick, much like the United States has in terms of coronavirus cases due to the Delta variant. However, here in Tokyo, the vaccination rate is much, much less. Earlier today, when we checked in with some of the government websites and sources, it looks like only 27% of the population here in Japan is vaccinated at this point. So, you have the Olympics going on. We've talked about that. You also have these cases that are on the rise here. There's not a direct correlation that one is causing the other, but definitely concern as these Olympic Games go on.
Are we hearing anything from Tokyo officials about, what they might be doing to ramp up inoculations, or, it's another sort of daily record that they've broken, right, when it comes to COVID cases, so they must be getting concerned.
Well, so they've been taking a look at Tokyo itself and then some of the outlying areas. And what they found is that everything's kind of tracking upward, unfortunately, at the same rate. So, again, there is not this direct correlation that the Olympic Games themselves are causing this uptick, but it looks like it's more the Delta variant and what's happening in the United States where, it's running through just populations of people who are unvaccinated at this point in time. So in terms of the Olympics, they still believe that their protocols are in place. They're, of course, doing the testing, which is what ended up showing up that Kendricks was pulled out. So they're saying that the protocols are working. They're doing the testing. They've got some of the other measures in place here. So at this point in time, they're not. What they've also talked about is the crowds, and that they've actually really looked at. There was all this talk about how there were all these crowds who came out to watch the triathletes on the side of the road, and they had asked people to stay home. Well, when they looked at the actual numbers, a lot less people came out than they originally thought, which indicated to them that people are adhering to the guidelines and staying home and watching a number of these events on TV. One of the other things that happened here in Tokyo recently is just last week there was a national holiday. It's usually one day. It extended 2 days with the Olympics and other things going on. So that's also a chance that people got together and gathered. They also thought, when you looked at the numbers, and we've talked to a number of doctors in the area, everyone thought that based on the numbers and looking at the data and trends, that the peak of these coronavirus cases due to the Delta variant would happen around August 3rd. So we're still about a week away, from that peak of what scientists had predicted in the first place. So we'll just have to wait and see if that is the actual peak or if it continues on past that date.
Wow. So let's talk about Simone Biles. We still don't know if we're going to see her compete at all in the rest of the Olympics, but she is very supportive of the rest of her teammates, and she did tweet out how appreciative she was of all the support that she's getting around the world for choosing to sort of pull back and remove herself from some of these competitions. She said that she had the twisties, so she called it, during the pole vault, and that prompted her to remove herself. So clearly this is not sort of an official medical term, but it got me sort of thinking about and looking up what the twisties are, and it's something that can happen to an athlete when they're in the air and they're sort of spinning around, and they make it look so easy at times that we forget that while they're doing all those moves, they have to sort of be aware of where the ceiling is, where the floor is, their feet have to land on the floor. Can you talk a little bit more about sort of what the twisties are and why they are so dangerous? It's so dangerous, in fact, that an athlete would pull themselves out of competition because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we talked to Simone Biles' former coach, Amy Borman. She coached Simone for 12 years. She coached her through the Rio Olympic Games when she won gold. And Amy said that this is something that she has seen happen to Simone specifically before, and that it happens to a number of gymnasts. As you just said, it's called the twisties, and it's one of those moments where an athlete can be on bars, they can be vaulting. All of a sudden, they are in the air, they are twisting around, and their mind and their body has become separate. They're not connected anymore. And that's when real injury can happen. And we've seen a number of gymnasts actually come out on social media today posting their own experiences where this happened to them and they ended up getting hurt. So Amy Borman told us that when she was training Simone, if it happened during training, they would usually pull her out and they would have her work on something else. Maybe that was switching to a different type of event within the gym, or maybe it was just doing weightlifting and that type of thing. But that they would pause, they would allow her time to get herself reacquainted with herself and make sure that her mind and body were back together again before she would go and she would try the vault or the uneven bars or whatever the case may be where it was happening to her. The unfortunate part is that this is a really inopportune time for this to happen, as Amy Borman told us, that there's not really a chance for you to say, okay, taking a break for a couple weeks and then I'll come back to this. It's the Olympic Games and you've got these events that are back to back to back to back. That is why she believes, Simone Biles said, you know, I'm just going to take this day by day. And Amy Borman believes it will probably be one of those things that she will wake up and she will either decide, okay, I'm good to go, or she's going to decide I'm still not there yet. And so that's why when she said it's going to be day by day, Amy Borman really believes that that's the truth.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I should correct myself. I said pole vault. It's not pole vault. It's the vault. Simone Biles is an incredible athlete, but and I'm sure she would be a great pole vaulter if she wanted to be, but that is not what she's competing in. Jamie Yuccas, thank you very much.
Absolutely.